Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 186. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving it a shot. Today's guest is the co-founder and co-owner of Quality Service Professionals. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm sure we'll all be inspired by her story. Let's chop it up with Chrisalyn Thurman. Chrisalyn, how's it going?
Pretty good. Thank you. Amazing day. I appreciate you for inviting me on.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you for giving me a few minutes of your time to chop it up.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, here to talk about all the great things you got going on with quality service professionals. But before we talk business, let's get to know the woman behind the brand. Born and raised in Columbus, Mississippi. What was y'all bringing up in the SIP?
So I grew up with the good old farm life in Columbus, Mississippi. So I love the farm life. I'm married with four children, two girls, two boys, athletes. I'm a graduate of Mississippi Valley State University. I'm a Delta Devil. I'm a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and also a proud member of Gamma Sigma Sigma National Service Sorority. Um, and I went to school off full track cross country scholarship. So I love sports and I actually help coach basketball and track and cross country here in the city of Montgomery.
Okay, sounds good. So, growing up in Columbus, Mississippi on the farm life, I can only imagine you had a great village growing up around you. I'm pretty sure you had mama, grandmama, all of them was in the fold.
Yes, sir. And I have 10 siblings. So it was a lot of us, five girls, five boys. And my mom she had 21 siblings, my dad, nine siblings. So we had a lot of family around us on that farm.
Okay, good stuff. And ain't nothing like family. Ain't nothing like having that village around you to love on you when you're doing the right thing, will discipline you when you're out of line. You know how it
Yeah,
go.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Good stuff. So growing up in Columbus, Mississippi, and you make your way over to Mississippi Valley State on a scholarship. So I got to ask you, Christian, what was the HBCU experience like for you?
It was amazing for me, being that I went to a predominantly white high school. So it was a culture shock at first when my first semester, but it was amazing. I finished on Dean's List every year, so every semester. So it was just an amazing experience that I had there. I don't think you could get another experience like HBCU.
I agree wholeheartedly. I went to Alabama State, so I know exactly what that's like. And being at HBCU, being around people who look like you from all over the East Coast,
Yes,
West Coast, the Midwest, it just made for a great time. And you just came together and made lifelong memories.
sure did.
Okay, so you got a chance to play sports and you got a chance to become a Zeta while you was in school. So, wow, you were heavily involved on campus,
Yes,
pledge,
I was a
pledge
member
degree.
of the SGA, so I kind of did everything. And then after I finished, I actually joined the National Guard while I was in college, and then I went active duty after I graduated. And I'm actually now retired. I'm a retired Army logistics officer from the Army, so
Wow,
great
that's
experience.
yes, ma'am. Wow, that's amazing. So, even with all that on your plate, SGA pledging as a well, coming initiating to Zeta Phi Beta. I won't say that P word again. That's a bad word. And also Gamma Sigma Sigma. So you had a lot on your plate. And how did you balance all of that with your schoolwork?
I guess because growing up on the farm life, I already knew how to kind of multitask. So multitasking was very easy for me because before we went to school, you had to go tend to the garden, tend to the animals. So it was pretty much just the same, just more on upscale. And then, of course, at times when I went to college, I did end up having to sit out a semester because I had to go serve during Hurricane Katrina. We built showers and stuff for the community out in Gulfport, Mississippi. And then we actually helped rebuild that community when Hurricane Katrina came. So it was pretty easy for me.
Okay, and that makes sense, and that's so cool that everything like being exposed to that farm life and those skills you learned back then, they served you well once you got to college. That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good. And I know you also mentioned that you served in the military. I want to thank you for your service.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. So, what was that experience like being able to serve our country?
Man, I can tell you it's nothing like being able to serve your country, the camaraderie that you have among your comrades and your other fellow soldiers. It's absolutely nothing like it. And I got to serve on both the non-commissioned officer side and the commissioned officer side. So I got to see it from both sides. So once I transitioned and became an officer, it was I had the experience of being that private. So I was able to be a leader who knew both sides of the house. And then from serving in Iraq, being one of the few black female officers serving there. Now, I served in Mosul, Iraq, with a field artillery battalion as probably one of the only few female officers that deployed with them. So it was quite an experience because I got to learn how to uh, be in a palletizer. Uh, when we was going out on the convoys with EOD, our EOD missions. So it was quite an experience. It did change my life quite a bit because of everything that I did see when I deployed. Uh, and then it was kind of detrimental because we did make it back with all of our people, but then we did lose people back at Fort Hood when we came back from our deployment. So that did kind of hit close to home. We lost people. So a lot of people in our unit end up committing suicide after they got back. So that's one of the things that I'm starting to advocate for now is the women veterans because there's not a lot of support out here for female veterans who have served our country.
Wow, that's powerful, and I appreciate you for sharing just your time in the military as well as the other side, just some of the people that you serve with, and just the decision that they made to not be here anymore. And I mean, I definitely, I've never served, but I've just heard those stories in terms of what you're talking about, your life change and the things you're exposed to. You can't unsee what you've been exposed to. So I commend you for having the strength to want to educate people about mental health and things of that nature, and wanting to be a wanting to be that vessel and wanting to provide that support. I think that's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. So, just in terms of some of those skills that you learned while serving our country, what are some of those skills that you learned while serving our country that you apply now in the entrepreneurial space?
Leadership and management. I really, really learned how to manage on a different level being in the military because as a female, I had to work a lot harder to be respected. So I had to be the best at everything in order to get my respect. So I didn't just get the respect. So here on the entrepreneur side, me learning to be the best at everything and always reading taking the time to find the right mentors. That's really has helped catapult my entrepreneurship experience. And then plus, my dad kind of always had us in that mindset because being that we grew up on a farm, he would always give us stuff to sell. When we was growing up and we couldn't come home. I don't care how late it was. You couldn't come home till you had sold everything. So we had that entrepreneur mindset as little bitty.
Okay, now much respect to Pops. Pops had that. Pops instilled that drive at a very early age. Can't come home. You sell what I didn't send you. I did a sell. That's amazing.
Yes.
That's all right. Okay, good stuff. So let's talk about what you got going on in the entrepreneurial space. You are the founder, owner, vice president, operations at Quality Service Professionals. So I'm big on brand names and the origins of them and where they come from. So I got to ask you, what inspired you to name your company that?
So my husband actually named the company Quality Service Professionals because if you look at our logo, it's represent the whole armor of God. And that's one of the main things that we wanted to focus on when we started the business because he is the CEO of our company. But one of the big things with starting the company, we started during COVID. I was actually the operations manager and EH&S, Environmental Health and Safety Manager in Houston, Texas at a flame retardant clothing company. And they were making masks, but you had schools that needed face masks for their students. And so our company could not make them. So the female owner of our company, she actually helped us get our company started. So we actually started by making with contracts making masks during COVID for schools. So we did quite a few schools in Mississippi, Texas, where we made face masks, put the school logos on them and with the students' names. So that's how we got started in our space.
Okay, awesome stuff. That's a great story, powerful story, and how you came up with the name, how you all came up with the name, very organic, and I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am. So present day, so you operating in business in Montgomery. So I gotta ask you, Chrisalyn. So did you experience any culture shock coming from Columbus, Mississippi? Once you arrived in Montgomery, Alabama, was there any culture shock?
Yes, because we actually moved here from Houston, Texas. We came from Houston, Texas to Montgomery, Alabama. When I tell you a cultural shock for us, my husband, my children, yes, sir. I will say it was not as friendly when we came here to Montgomery as it was in Texas. It was not easy getting started in the workspace here because we've been here in Montgomery for 2.5 years now. And I can tell you it was not easy kind of getting networked in, getting the business transition to here. Because, of course, we just opened the business on Maxwell Air Force Base April of last. We actually went to the brick and mortar on Maxwell Air Force Base.
Okay, that's amazing. I appreciate you for sharing that culture shock. And I mean, hey, I'm born and raised in Montgomery, so I know what you're saying. It's a little interesting here at times. I mean, you would think Southern hospitality spreads across the South, but not necessarily.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. So I can only imagine yeah, going from Houston to here, and yeah, I can only imagine that culture shock. You go from the big city, the big buildings. I mean, just a city that's popping, and then you come to a retirement city like Montgomery, and like Montgomery, like we way slower than Houston, Texas. I mean, as far as the city
Yeah.
wise, I can admit it. You
Yes.
know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So products and services wise, what do you all offer?
So we do a lot of custom design and printing service. So we do a lot of embroidery, custom embroidery. We're one of the only few embroidery shops here that does patches. We do a lot of military patches. We are about to be the first Black-owned company that will be certified to actually with the military to do military patches. So that is like a big thing for us for 2025 because we're going through that certification process right now. So we're like really excited about that. But we do patches, we do shirts, cups, business cards, flyers, logo designs, anything. And with our logo designs, we're the only company right now in the United States that prepares a client for every form of print work. So if you get your logo done with us, you will have your digitized stitch files where it's ready for all forms of embroidery, whether it's 3D, whether you want 3D embroidery, whether you want regular flat embroidery, whether you want a vector file so you can get sublimations, heat transfer, DTFs. We provide you every single file that you will ever need for your company, for every type of artwork for your company that you will ever need. And right now, we're the only company in the United States that does that. So that's one of the things, and that's what we try to do is do something that kind of set us apart from everybody else.
That's what I'm talking about. Talk about it. Let them know. Making history. The only one in the States. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. And y'all still continuing to grow the brand and evolve and getting your certification. That's amazing. Y'all got some great stuff going over there at Quality Service Professionals.
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. So whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. Take us back to your aha moment when you first had the idea to create this business.
Well, my husband and I, we was just sitting, and one day he was like, "You know what? We can do this." Because I've always had the entrepreneur mindset, and then he was like, "You should start the business. You do this all the time anyway, so you should make it into a business." So he started doing the research. I started doing the research, and so it was like, "All right, let's do it." So we hopped into it. But I said the good thing was that we had Miss Gail that actually helped us get started, and then a lot of my coworkers. So uh, we went directly to the manufacturers when we bought our first embroidery machine because they told my husband and I, hey, go directly to the manufacturer. That's how you save money. So we kind of had a lot of help on the inside, which is why we provide that help now to other business owners or other entrepreneurs because I had that help. So I like to give and feed back to the community and other entrepreneurs, and that's why we do a lot of classes where we can teach them and stuff. But yeah, that was our big moment. just because it was something I was doing. And you know how the Bible says, God blesses everybody with the talent. So what people got to realize as entrepreneurs, we already have that talent or that gift. We just got to use it.
Yes, ma'am. You said hey, that's powerful right there. That's a word for real. Like we all got those gifts, and as the good book say, your gifts make room for you.
Yes, they will.
That's amazing. That's great that you all had that aha moment, and also I commend you for pointing out that you all did have help, that you did have a village around you all, like helping you all and saying, "Hey, go straight to manufacturing and save some money." And I know we always hear it takes a village in the context of just when we're children, but even when we're adults, it takes a village. We need that support system around us to give us game and help us along the way.
Yes, we do.
Yes, ma'am. So from the time you all had the aha moment, it sounds like, well, as far as action, it sounds like it didn't take you all a very long time to come up with a name and get the LLC and all the business stuff situated.
No, we've been doing this for 5 years now. And of course, we're still learning. And what I would highly recommend for any entrepreneur or anybody stepping into the business ownership space, make sure you never stop learning. Continue to read. Like every month, my husband and I, we read different books. We continue to grow our knowledge when it comes to our industry because we want to be at the top of our industry. Just like here in Montgomery, we're the only company here in Montgomery that does chenille embroidery, and a lot for the this southern region. It's only one other company, and they're out of Atlanta that does chenille embroidery. So we actually can do that in house for you, and that's what a lot of the Greek organizations like. It's like the tile or the fuzzy type of embroidery, but we actually do that here. Nobody else here in this surrounding area can do that. Everybody else, if they do it, they're buying it from somebody and they're not actually doing it in house. So a lot of our stuff, pretty much, my husband and I, we're putting our hands on it. Or and my kids. The one thing I can say is we've taught our children, so our children know how to operate the embroidery machines, ETF machines, the sublimation machines. So we've taught them how to do all of that. And then we're trying to get into the school systems so that we can offer internships to let people come out and learn business at a young age.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, the two things that you said in those gems that you just dropped that stood out to me was first thing was you and your husband are lifelong students, and that's what it's about, Chrisalyn, because we'll never know it all. We won't live long enough to learn it all, but it's great that you all read, continue to educate yourselves, continue to be lifelong students. And that second part you said that stood out was you all teaching the children, y'all teaching the kids, the family business. That's powerful. Ma'am.
Not a lot of people are doing that, and that's one of the things we got to teach our youth. We got to teach this next generation.
Absolutely, no doubt. I mean, because they definitely need that guidance. They definitely need us to teach them, like you said, and that's great that you all are educating your children on the family business. And hey, there'll come a time when you all can retire and pass it off to them, and business keep rolling as expected.
Absolutely. And I don't know if the viewers that listen to your podcast, I don't know if they know about on ASU, where your alma mater, they actually have a SBA office on the ASU campus, and they actually do a lot of catering to small businesses. And they helped me get my service disabled veteran owned business certification, my minority owned business certification. So for any business owners that have different certifications that you can fall into, you may want to go on the ASU campus to the SBA, talk with Andrea Mosley and her staff and her team, and they will help you in your business. And a lot of people might say, hey, it's not important to get those certifications, but yes, it is, because you can get what's called government set asides for your business. So a lot of people don't know the government is where a lot of the money can be made. They do a lot of business with small businesses, and a lot of us don't know that. But if you go and get the certifications, you can actually have 10% of set asides where you can do contracts with the government.
That's amazing. I appreciate you for sharing that information. That's what it's all about, sharing information and resources.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. That last portion, audacity, it's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to put action behind the idea. But to put it out to the world to be praised or criticized, that's where the audacity comes in my opinion. Who or what gave y'all that courage to put the business out to the world to be praised or criticized?
I think it was both my husband and and we both supported one another. Because when we started our business, we reached out to family members, friends. We didn't have nobody that wanted to go in with us when we started. So it was us supporting one another, us being that support system for each other in doing the business. Our failures, it was nice that I cried right there to him because we had failures, and him just kind of keeping me uplifted in the business. Hey, you can do it. Don't give up. It was times where I wanted to quit, and he was like, no, don't quit. We came too far. So him really being that strong support system for me and for us and our family is pretty much what kind of what kind of put us where we are now and gave us the not quit, never give up type of attitude. Because he from the jump he told me I could do this, and I still dibbled and dabbled. Was like, nope, I'm still working corporate America. But then I actually walked away in April and walked into it full time.
Wow. Hey, teamwork made the dream work, and that's great that you all had each other's backs and gave each other that courage, that audacity to put the brand out. And I also want to congratulate you for stepping out. It's almost coming up on the year that you stepped away from the 9 to 5 umbrella. That's amazing.
Yes, I will tell you it's not easy for anybody that think it's easy. It is not easy. You will go through struggles, but never give up, never quit, stay prayed up, talk to God, have you a good, strong support system.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So I definitely want to just ask about that transition. So, what was that moment when you realized you needed to transition out of the 9 to 5 and go full time entrepreneur?
Um, it was probably because I was making almost just as much in the business as we was making as I was making on my job. So that's a great indication of, hey, it's time to walk away because you can do more. And when you're working for somebody else, you cannot fully give your all into your own business if you're giving, let's say, 80% or 85% of yourself to your job that you're working on. You cannot dedicate 100% of your time to your business, because growing your business and getting it to grow, when I tell you it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work, it takes a lot of time and a lot of work. You got to do a lot of studying, you got to do a lot of research, because you got to know your market, who's your target audience. So you really have to do a lot of homework. And then, like my husband, he really good with staying ahead of the trend, knowing, hey, what's new that's going to be coming out, so we could go ahead and put out the different embroidery designs ahead of time. So it takes a lot of research.
Yes, ma'am. That's powerful stuff, and that's definitely a great indicator that it was time to leave. Like, hey, when you making it in the business with the W-2 pen, hey, it's that's definitely a sign. Hey, it's time.
Hmm.
That's good stuff. And when you got ready to make that transition out of the 9 to 5 world, did you tell your colleagues what you were about to embark on, or did you just kind of leave?
I just kind of left. The ones in Texas knew what we were doing, but when I came here to Montgomery, I really didn't even know people here anyway, so it didn't even matter. So I didn't even give them an indication other than the people that knew me well. They knew. They always said, "Man, you're not gonna be here long because you're a sole entrepreneur." So the people that really knew me well, they always told me, "You're not gonna be here long." They could see I had a different mindset.
Okay, and that makes sense. And I would have done the same thing. I just would have put in a 2 weeks notice and just rolled off into the sunset. Hey, everybody don't need to know everything, so I respect it.
Can't let your right hand know what your left hand doing.
You better know it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So you done great thing. Well, before I go there, so I know you were saying you all been in business for 5 years, and I got to ask you, Christian. So the pandemic, 2020, everything popped off, the world shut down. How did you all manage to stay afloat and stay in business during that time?
We actually started our business during COVID, so we never even felt the effects of COVID in our business, because we literally started our business with contracts with schools making face masks. So I think our first order of face masks, I think, was maybe we made 10,000 masks for a school, and hand sewed them. Like, I'm sewing masks, my husband, they putting the elastic in, the kids putting the pins. That, I mean, it was literally a family collective effort. everybody was it. We literally made an assembly line when we started the business. And mind you, at this time, I was still working my full-time job as well. So it was a lot of late nights when we got home from work. We still working the business because we had contracts and we couldn't fail our customers.
Hmm. That's what I'm talking about. That's such a blessing, and like just fact that you all were able to come in right away, start the business, and immediately start solving problems. That's dope.
Yep, a lot of people fail to realize too in business as business owners, you got to be able to pivot no matter what happens in the world. You got to pivot and you always want to have a 1 year plan, a 3 year plan, a 5 year plan. You got to know where your business is going in order to be successful because how can you ask for grants? How can you ask for help? How can your mentors help you if you don't know where your business is going to go?
Yes, ma'am. That's spot on, 1,000%. Got to know where you had it, and that actually transitions to my next portion, vision. So I got to ask you, in terms of short term and long term goals, you feel comfortable sharing. What are some of those goals you have for the business?
One of the big things, we are opening our nonprofit. Well, we have opened our nonprofit now. And that's one of the biggest focus. Like I said at the beginning, is I'm going to be focused on women veterans, providing job training for them, offering jobs, offering classes, getting them ready for the job market. Because a lot of the women veterans, they're homeless with their children, and that leads to suicide or drug abuse. And because I know there are no programs out there, I want to be able to offer housing, job skill training for the women veterans. So that's one of the big things we're looking at doing here in 2025. Also, we want to be able to partner with the local schools, some of the local schools, and teach farming because a lot of stuff they're putting antibiotics, a lot of chemicals into the foods. And because I grew up farming, I think we need to go back to our roots and start teaching our children how to farm, how to plant, how to take care of the garden. So that's one of the other things that we're doing in our business. And then we're teaching CPR classes as well. My husband and I both are certified CPR instructors, and we're going to be teaching CPR classes because, as you see, it's a lot of gun violence here in the city. And so we think we can save a lot more lives by actually making sure that everyone, child, adult, youth, everybody knows CPR. So we'll be partnering with a lot of people within the community, a lot of organizations within the community, offering those type of support classes, giving people sewing classes to attend, giving them art classes to attend, giving our youth something to do. So since we have a passion for that, that's what we're gonna start offering within the community over this next year. And then for our long-term plans is literally just to continue to get all of our certifications so that we can do government contracting, get more into the government contracting world, more of the school contracting world, get more contracts, and get more out of the one-on-one with client.
Okay, good stuff. Those are great goals, both short term and long term. And I have no doubt y'all are put in the work and make them come to fruition.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. As we wrap up the podcast, Chrisalyn, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast because I wanted to highlight the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery. Whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or work, you living in Montgomery, doing business in Montgomery, I got to ask you, what do you appreciate the most about the city of Montgomery?
Y'all history. You all have a lot of history here in Montgomery. My children absolutely love to go to the museums here. They're looking forward to the 60th anniversary for Montgomery. I think it's like the Selma. They're doing like a metaverse thing here in Montgomery for the 60th anniversary, and my children are really looking forward to that. So the history of Montgomery is rich here.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Chrisalyn, how can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles and website?
So you can follow me on Facebook at Quality Service Professionals. And my Instagram, I do believe, is Chrisalyn Thurman or either Coach Thurman. I can't remember which one I put it at. But if you find me on Facebook, uh, at facebook.com/quality service professionals, follow me there. You can also reach out to me 334-759-8500. You can also email us at qsp at qualityserviceprofessionals.com. And We'll make whatever dream you have when it comes to any type of design, we will make that dream come to light.
Ma'am, sounds good. And of course, I'll put all of that information in the description of the episode. Hey, Chrisalyn, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome, and you have a great night, and thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumtown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, you know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go.